Hey everyone, Travis here on what I think is now week 9 of the NALCS. Yes, I nailed it. I'm getting these core concepts down. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Now, it's day 1, and I'm here with Voyboy, who just played Tristana against Dignitas to victory. Now, I know that they already kind of asked you about this on the stage interview, but not everybody watches this because, who wants to see Kobe? I don't. Nobody. He's not a very handsome person at all. Yeah, well, you're not helping me out here, Voyboy. Now, what was the reasoning behind the Tristana pick?
So we picked Tristana, and then on our last two picks, we're like, all right, so I could play Oriana here, and then I think it was Special. He just accidentally insta-locked Jinx. So we had Jinx and Triss on the same team, and then we were like, all right, well, which one do you want to play, boy? And I was just like, all right, I'll just play Tristana mid. And it ended up working out. We somehow won, but it wasn't something that we went into it with planning or anything.
I see. So it was all an accident.
Accidents can sometimes turn to miracles.
Very confusing to me right now. No, all right. So then Zareth ended up on the opposite side. And what do you think of that? Were you expecting that at all? Was that an expectation?
Yeah, Xerath is something that I expect most mid laners and I need to play right now, including myself. I think it's just a strong pick. I mean, Faker played it once in OGN, and then everyone tried it out, and it's got played in EU, and everyone's like, okay, this champion's actually really good. So I would definitely expect to see a lot more Xerath this week, and it was something that we expect them to try to pick.
One of the comments that Jad had made during the cast was that he had sort of felt as though, especially in the mid lane, a lot of people are just going for longer range and longer range champions. Do you think that that was what brings us to this place where we're seeing like Xerath and Tristana? Do you think that's a fair statement?
I think in some ways people were gravitating towards long range champions, but I don't think that's like the mid lane meta right now. I think there's a lot of like strong picks. I think Ziggs has always been strong. Xerath is kind of similar to Ziggs in my mind because he has like really good wave clears, a strong laning phase, and he scales really well into late game. So I would kind of consider them pretty similar champions. I think people are just playing Xerath because they perceive him as strong. He just has a lot of strengths. He's immobile, which is probably his only weakness, but his laning's really good. His team fighting's excellent. His ult's weird at first, but if you actually practice him, it's like actually really strong. You can just throw it really quick in succession, and it's usually pretty hard for people to dodge. But yeah, I would expect to see Xerath played a lot more. I just think he's strong. I don't think people are playing him because that's kind of the style mid lane's moving to. I think it's just a strong pick, and people are playing it a lot.
Again, for those that missed the after broadcast or after game interview on the broadcast, why AD Tristana instead of AP?
Yeah, so AP Tristana is good, but it's kind of gimmicky. It gets countered if anyone on the team ever gets a Banshee's Veil, you're pretty much useless. It's strong in laning phase. You can like get a bunch of kills, and if you get a few, like one or two, like if you get a DFG, you can pretty much one shot anyone. But AD Triss just scales really well into late game. She's still strong in lane, and you can just like melt objectives and turrets and stuff like that. And yeah, Tristana is just fun to play as an AD, so I did that.
Looking at like the Tristana mid, the Xerath, a lot of these different picks that we're starting to see that we haven't seen in a while, it does feel like we're starting to push towards like a lot of champion diversity. Do you think that that's something that we're going to see more and more? Do you think that that's what these patches are pushing?
Yeah, I love champion diversity. I've always been one to just pick whatever I thought is good, even if a lot of other people aren't playing it. Just play something that I perceive as strong, and if it actually is strong, we'll have success. If not, we might lose a few games. But for the most part, whenever I think something that's not in the meta is good, it usually works out for the teams that I've been on. And I love champion diversity. I hate when like there's like 4 strong champions that's all that people are playing from, right. And then there's just like it gets boring to watch. Like it's boring for the players, it's boring for the spectators. It just doesn't make it fun. But when people pull out like crazy picks and they just push the meta and just try out new things, I think it's really healthy for the game. And I think with more just like micro changes being made to like a bunch of champions, I think people are just going to be more willing to try out a bunch of stuff and just experiment and see what works for them. Because like there was a point like back years ago when everyone had their own like champion picks. Like it was like, oh, it's like Froggins and Nivea, like, oh, this guy is like Cassiopeia, like Akali, stuff like that. And I thought that like that was really cool and interesting time because you always have to fear and respect those picks from like everyone, and everyone had their own kind of meta of champions. And then like we've seen for the past few splits of LCS, it's kind of like, all right, this is like the standards, like what everyone plays. Like there's some diversity, but it's not like far-reaching. And I think that's kind of like what I love to see. And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen again, but it'd be a joy.
Crossing your fingers.
Yeah, sure.
Now, the end of the split has kind of snuck up on us. We only have, after this weekend, 2 more weekends, obviously one of them being a super week. But what do you think are Curse's chances right now of making it into the playoffs?
I think our chances of making playoffs are pretty high. I think we're in 6th right now, a few games ahead of Complexity. We can't slack. We can't start dropping games. We have to win as many as we can. But I think we should be able to get solid 6th and just make it the playoffs, which is our ultimate goal. We perceive ourselves as capable of taking out any team in the LCS, and although we have had like a negative win-loss right now, I think our actual strength, this is what we think, is capable of beating anyone. So we think we can make it far in playoffs. We think we can make it to Worlds. We obviously still have some stuff like our shot calling, our decision making, our decisiveness that we need to work on and just shore up before playoffs actually get here. But I think if we can make it to playoffs, we can make it to Worlds, and I think our sights are set on that, and I think our chance is actually pretty decent. So I'm looking forward to getting to playoffs and kicking some butt.
Very good. Well, I think you guys are definitely ramping up right now. Really appreciate the interview. You have anything you want to say to any of your fans out there?
Yeah. Hey, guys. Thanks for supporting us. Again, we had a bad last week, but I think we just beat Dig, and we're going to try to give Cloud9 a really good game. Sorry to your solo queue games if you start seeing Triss mid. I apologize for that. And thanks to all our sponsors, Alienware, Azubu, Energems, Cooler Master, and Astro. Thanks for the support, guys. You help us win. And yeah, I think that's it, Travis.
Well, thank you. That was such a great sponsor shout out. That was probably the best I've heard in a while. I think even my video producer agrees. All right, you can check out the rest of our coverage of all things LCS at ongamers.com, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well.